Happy Friday. Good to see everybody. Wait a couple minutes to see how many more people we're going to get to start. But I'm glad you guys can make it on Friday afternoon for our weekly Friday Ambassador Workshop series. I think this is week 5. And we've got a good speaker today, one of our alumni. And I hope everybody's doing well and staying healthy. And I'm going to read the chat as it comes up and let everybody in. There's Tiana using her account. How many minutes you want to give it? Michael.
I don't know. The 5.
Okay.
I guess we could start at 35.
Okay, good. So hello, Andre. Hello, Fatima. Hello, Leighton. Hello, Yanira. Hello, Muhammad. Hello, Tiana. Somebody else was here too.
Some familiar names.
Yeah. We have more people joining us. Everybody sees everything okay, clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where are you now? You're in DC?
Yeah, I'm in the DMV, specifically Hyattsville, Maryland, which is on the border of the district.
Yeah, Michael came out last year to meet with the Modern team when we were at the hotel to give them some support. Not this year. Everything's going to be remote. Yeah, everything. Every conference is remote. There's not a single in-person conference at all.
I drove like an hour to see you because I was in Virginia.
You were at a wedding or something.
Yeah, you're right. Good memory.
Oh.
You still got it, Jason. Still got it.
Yeah. My bird is 9 years old. I didn't remember that. I didn't know that. I found her birth certificate and realized she's 9.
Who?
The bird.
Oh, I didn't even know you had a bird.
Yeah, I know that. 9 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kick us off. I know you guys have busy schedules, and I want to honor your time. So let me start by taking a few moments to introduce our speaker for this week. His name is Michael Cruz. He's got a whole fancy name up here on the PowerPoint. It says Michael Angel Cruz with the special insignia on top of the A. Michael's a graduate of Hostos. He was part of the Student Leadership Academy. He actually participated with us even before he was a student at the college. He was part of many other programs at the college, including being a member of the Student Government Association. He was the vice president and chair of the Senate at his highest level. He recently, 2 years ago, won an award from the alma maters for his work in public service, working in the Peace Corps, and I think part of his presentation is going to be about that. When he graduated from Hostos, he went to City College, and off from City College, off into the world. He's also managed to borrow, beg, plead for, and get grants to be able to do study abroad in a multitude of places and sort of make an impact in a lot of ways on the world that surrounds him. So he was never quite content with living in Manhattan or the Bronx. He always wanted to step out and go beyond. And he even a couple of years ago, we had this conversation. I think he spoke, I think last year he spoke, right? And I talked about how he had been given special dispensation by the Peace Corps to go back to Puerto Rico after the storms hit, because that's where his family is from, and he was able to help with the rebuild of a portion of the town that he was from. But I'll let him tell all that story. We have a very unique friendship, very loyal to each other, and have been through the ups and downs, seen the world, from Albany to wherever, Washington, D.C. He was a member of our Model UN team multiple times, both in New York and Washington, D.C., and our head delegate a couple times. I trust him a great deal, and I value his opinion and his service. And so it's my pleasure to bring him back to speak with you. I give a virtual round of applause for our friend Michael Cruz.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's my honor, my pleasure to be here with you all virtually. It's a beautiful fall day here in the DC metro area. I'm hoping the weather in New York is also nice. Today, I'd like to talk to you all a little bit about my journey in public service. My story, my community service story, it's a journey from Hostos to Peru, and now Washington, D.C. So as Jason said, my name is Michael Cruz, and currently I work for AmeriCorps Vista at their headquarters in Washington, D.C., and I am a screening and suitability specialist, which means I do the criminal history background checks, because Vistas, as we call them, work with vulnerable populations, elderly and children. So we want to make sure that these individuals provide a safe environment for the communities we serve. I'm also a returned Peace Corps volunteer. I served in Peru as a youth volunteer, youth development volunteer. So a little bit about me. I'm a non-traditional student. I went back to Hostos. Well, I had a couple of attempts at college, but I finally ended up back at Hostos. It was my second attempt in 2010. So I identify as a non-traditional student. My background before was like retail, customer service. I originally went to Hostos trying to get into the Global Scholars Program, which used to be a pipeline into Columbia University, because my brother, who also graduated from Hostos, did that. Unfortunately, we lost funding, but my journeys, it's all worked out. I think everything happens for a reason, as cliche as that may sound. Like I said, I had a couple attempts at college, so I actually went to school, got a D in this one class I tried. It was an English class. I had a lot of personal stuff going on, and it wasn't the time for me to be in college. So because of that, I was placed on academic probation. So when I went back to Hostos in 2010, I had to go to school part-time, but I made sure that I aced both those classes, and then I was allowed to go to school full-time. So like I said here on the slide, I rebounded. I'm going to try to make this a little interactive. I realize that sometimes Zoom could be a little awkward, but what I would like to do is sort of gauge a top 10 of what people do, or what do you personally do when you have a problem? Like, what is your go-to to try to problem solve? And if you want to unmute your mic and share, or if you want to type in the chat, however you feel comfortable, let's try to rank a top 10 of what folks do when they encounter a problem.
Hello, could you repeat your question, please? I am Isabel.
Sure, hi.
Thank you.
My pleasure. What do you do when you have a problem? So what is your thought process? What's your go-to to troubleshoot, to problem solve. Like, okay, I've encountered a problem. How am I going to tackle this problem? What is your go-to?
Okay. It depends the problem. If I have a problem, sometimes I'm thinking them and thinking them. Meditation by myself. Sometimes I pray. Yeah, that's my
Okay.
solution. Then I need to talk with somebody, maybe my friend, or maybe who is like good person with me, like advisor, something like that. And then we solve the problem. I'm thinking how I can solve the problem. It depends the problem.
Okay, so far we have prayers / meditation, and then advice or counsel. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing. Anyone else would like to share?
Thank
So
you.
Mohammed,
Yes, sure.
okay. Mohammed wrote in the chat, he says we examine the problem and how it arose and deduce the main point causing the issue. And then you have Tiana raising her hand.
So I would say, like, first I would do as Mohammed said. I would just kind of analyze the situation, see like what really is the issue. And then from there, I try to map out how I can problem solve. So maybe I'll think of a few strategies before approaching the person, just to make sure that it doesn't result in a higher altercation or in the issue becoming bigger than it needs to be. But also just being like calm but humble at the same time about addressing the issue and not going in like hot-headed but level-headed.
So you like to step back, analyze the situation. Also, I see the theme that we look for the root of the problem, and we also have a diplomatic approach. So we gather our thoughts, and that way we don't, approach it in an aggressive manner. And so far, that's what I'm hearing. Great, thank you for sharing. Anyone else would like to share?
So there's some here about taking a minute for oneself and thinking about it, talk with the family, breathe, think about solutions.
Okay, so reflection, taking time out for reflection. And then we also go to our community, our support systems. We seek out our support systems. Great. Anyone else would like to share? These are all great, by the way. I see some more folks joining. For those of you just joining in, we're exploring this question: what do you do when you have a problem? And our goal or objective was to get a top 10 ranking of what are our options for problem solving? What are our go-tos? If no one else wants to share in the chat or unmute, we can keep going.
I'm trying.
What's the context? What's the context of the question? I'm sorry, I joined a little bit late. How are you doing?
Hi. In this little activity, we're trying to gauge what people do to problem solve. What are the tactics? What are their go-tos to problem solve?
I think that the first tactic would be understand what the actual problem is. After you understand what the actual problem is, maybe you can go about it a couple of different ways. Maybe you ask advice if someone around you maybe has gone through the same thing, and you would try to learn it. And then if you do find a certain way to do it, maybe break it down into smaller little ways that you can actually like accomplish, little tasks that you can accomplish. And then hopefully that leads into you solving the full problem.
Okay, great. So because sometimes problems can be overwhelming or daunting, sometimes we can separate our plan of attack and strategize how we want to tackle that problem. Yeah, I think that's great. So just to recap, so far we have prayer, meditation, seeking advice, examining, analyzing the root of the problem, mapping out, which is also goes back to strategy, a diplomatic approach, because we use this reflection or this time to gather our thoughts, we don't necessarily come at the problem in an aggressive way, but more of a productive way. And also seeking out our communities and our support systems. I think this is all really good. Anyone else wanted to share?
So Denise wrote that she writes them down. And Rosanna says that she tries not to maximize the problem and she instead surrounds herself with positive vibes.
I love that one. Positivity, yes. Okay, this is great. I think we're good. I think we have some really good stuff to work with. So let's move on. Thank you for participating. All right, so we're gonna come back to this. Let's put it on the back burner. I'm gonna talk a little bit about my story. So I think at the very beginning is the Leadership Academy, which is the reason why we're all here. The Leadership Academy taught me the importance of public service. It taught me the power of networking. I think that Jason really stresses the importance of networking. And in that process, I think he created a monster with me because networking is my jam. Also, leadership led to a lot of peer mentoring, as I'm sure a lot of you have participated in. Helping students register for classes is one example, or you also has that real strong sense of community. And it was one of the amazing parts of being there for 2 years. And then, pre-COVID, we got to go to a lot of amazing conferences, but I'm sure that they've also taken that now to a virtual platform. And here, some cool folks that I met along the way is the now Chancellor, former President of Hostos Community College, the VP who has my surname, so we got the Cruzes, and then Sandra May Flowers, who used to be the president when I was VP. And Jason already talked about Model UN. This year, you guys are representing the Dominican Republic. I was fortunate enough to go 2 times. In New York City as well as DC. And when I was in DC, I was the head delegate. That time we represented Haiti. And if you haven't done Model UN, it's a really great experience. It really sparked my interest in international affairs. I currently want to pursue a career in the Foreign Service, and this had a lot to do with it. This experience definitely pointed me in that direction. So some opportunities that the Academy affords you is My Park Day, MLK Day of Service, which is actually sponsored by AmeriCorps, which is the organization I work for now. And I'm rocking some of the swag. We actually just changed our logo recently, so this is our new logo. Also the 9/11 Day of Service, and some of the other cool things that the Academy does is visiting, nursing homes, going to do Feeding NYC, which is in Thanksgiving, right around this time of year, packing meals for, low-income families. And that kind of started it all for me. So that's when I was bitten by that community service bug. And here are just some pictures of us at Isabella, us at the park, the one in Franz Siegel, I think it's called, and yeah, just sharing some pictures. I know some of you are in Malave, which also allow me to do really cool things like CUNY Citizenship Now, so helping lawful permanent residents apply for citizenship. We also did an alternate spring break, which I don't know if they still do that, but we basically went up to Syracuse. I did that twice to work with Habitat for Humanity, and we helped build houses. It was a lot of fun. And then I had this passport for like 2 years that I had never used, but I had it in my drawer because I knew I was going to use it one day. So I was like, how can I make this happen? I basically participated in one of the study abroad programs because CUNY has so many. I went with Megan Evers because I really wanted to go to Brazil. And I took an intro to Portuguese class, and then I also participated in an Afro-Brazilian history course. CUNY has a lot of opportunities for study abroad. So I realized that we're in the era of COVID, but this is not going to last forever. So rest assured that these opportunities will come your way again. There are some really good scholarships out there, which I'm going to share links to. Gilman. I know the Chancellor's office now has a scholarship, but just wanted to touch on this a little. Then I sort of projected, strategized. I knew that I wanted to do the Peace Corps, and I knew that service learning was a good way to build my resume for that. So I looked for an opportunity that would allow me to do some community service, some international service. So I participated in this program with City College, and it was a 4-week program in Santo Domingo, and we did an urban farming initiative. And there was a research component to that. So I wrote a 15-page research paper on gender roles in the Dominican Republic. But all of these, skills, this is really good to build up, especially if you want to eventually go to grad school. So like take advantage of all these opportunities. But Jason alluded to how to scrape and beg for money. But basically, Hostos paid for this entire thing. I was very active in student government, and I had become really close to VP Shervoin, who's like, she holds the purse strings at Hostos, or at least she used to. So like, I was very intentional, right? I built a rapport with her, and once I felt comfortable, I had a whole proposition paper, and I was like, this is my proposal, this is where I want to go, can you help me get there? And she basically said, Michael, you're a good guy, sure, let's make this happen. So basically they cut me a check, I had to go get it, take it over to City College, and the whole thing was paid for. So sometimes it's just as simple as, sending an email to someone, knocking on somebody's door. You might get a no at first, but they might put you in the right direction to talk to somebody else. So I personally never take no for an answer. Like if I know I want to do something, and if someone can't help me per se, then I'm like, can you point me in the right direction? And some more photos just wanted to share. Okay, so I did touch on a little bit the importance of networking, and I'm sure Jason has talked about what an elevator pitch is. So an elevator pitch or elevator speech is a statement. It's a short description of an idea that you might have, and it explains a concept in a way that the listener can understand in a short period of time, ideally 20, 30 seconds. So this comes from that concept of getting in an elevator, going up an elevator and having a brief conversation. So when I approach someone, it could be an elected official. I might have an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, but I will Google that person really quickly, find out who they are and maybe what they stand for, and I'll see if they can help me achieve whatever goal I want, whether it's an internship, whether it's some resource or funding. So learning your elevator pitch, sort of committing it to memory, is very useful. And I'm sure Jason will bring in people that will talk to you more about that, but that is a very key component to networking. Also, business cards. Jason gave me a boatload of business cards and I used them. So if you got to get those little Vistaprint, $5 for like 500, you know, it's a very good way to get your name and number out there, your email. And usually what I do is when I meet someone and they give me their card, I email them that day. So right then and there, I'm initiating some type of conversation. And then I follow up with folks. I also keep in touch. Even if it's like once every 6 months, I'm going to email the chancellor, email the president of the college and tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. You know, happy holidays, happy new year. Because when I need that letter of recommendation, they're going to remember who I am. Oh yeah, this is Michael. He's always bugging me. So that is key to applying to fellowships, to apply to scholarships. You're going to need those letters of recommendation. Jason can tell you how many letters of recommendations he's written me over the years. Keep in touch with people. It's not that hard. Sending an email to someone and saying, hey, hope you're doing well. It's really not that hard. It doesn't take that much time. Do an internship. I cannot stress this enough. You need to have experience. You need to have a resume. It is great that you're in school. It is great that you have coursework and your classes and that you're learning stuff, but you need a skill set. Do an internship. If you can't afford to do an internship, guess what? There's money out there that will help you do an internship. I grew up in the South Bronx. I don't come from an affluent background. I wanted to do an internship in DC. Guess what? Housing in DC is really expensive. But when I was at City College, I asked around. Someone said, oh, the Wrangell Center sends people out to DC. They pay for your housing. All I did was send an email to someone. I got a name. You know, I went and I met with her. And then she said, you got it. You know, it's $2,500. If you say yes, though, you have to go. Because then we're going to make you pay it back if you don't go. But basically, I got to, do an internship in DC. I did not spend any money on housing. And this was just a very simple, because I paid attention, because I asked questions, because I was engaged on campus, I didn't sit around, waiting for this to fall out of the sky. But you need to learn how to navigate the system. You need to see who's doing what you want to do, and befriend these people, ask questions. The worst that can happen is that people say no, right? And then you move on to the next person who's going to say yes. So I cannot stress that enough. Do an internship, build that resume. Even if it's a few hours a week, make it happen. Like, I understand there's other stuff going on in your life, but you got to prioritize. So I did an internship with CUNY Citizenship Now, like I said, helping people fill out their applications for citizenship. Then I did the internship in DC working with refugees and immigrants. And then in New York City, I interned for U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, also working in immigration. So I knew I had an interest in immigration, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, which is what brought me to City College. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So while at City College, I continued to study abroad. And this was something that just came my way. Someone told me, oh, they're giving a scholarship from the Career Foundation. Apply and you get to go to study in South Korea. So I applied, and I basically didn't have all the money. The scholarship was going to pay probably half the tuition. So, like I said before, I'm very intentional. So while in student government, I then became a delegate in the University Student Senate, which some of you might be familiar with, USS. And at USS, I became close to the chair of USS, and I told them, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I need more money. What do you think I should do? He's like, well, you know, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. Why don't you talk to the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, who I had also befriended and was very intentional about, you know, my rapport with him. I told him, look, this is what's going on. I have half the money for the study abroad. What I don't have is the other half of the tuition and the airfare. So he basically told me, get City College to pay for half and I'll pay the other half. So this is CUNY Central, right? So basically I went to my school, I found out who was the mover and the shaker there. And I told them, look, CUNY Central's offering me half of tuition and half of airfare. Can you cover the rest? And they said yes. So like all I did was, you know, build relationships, but I was very intentional with these relationships. And this is where networking is the key component. You need to see the lay of the land, right? Who's gonna make this happen for me, right? Because I know that I have the talent. I'm confident in myself, right? I know that I have, you know, the level of intelligence, what have you. I just need someone to open the door, right? To get me through to the other side. So because I'm very intentional, you know, I feel like, okay, the stars align, but I also help the stars align, you know? It's not like I'm waiting for all this to just fall on my plate. So I got to study abroad in South Korea, you know, and I didn't pay anything. Do everything. Do everything. Go to every conference. Join everything Jason puts in front of your face. Say yes. Where do I sign? Yeah, we went to Harvard a few times for conferences, the Millennium Campus Conference. I was in student government at Hostos and at City College. I did Model Senate, Model UN. Jason nominated me for the Leadership of the Year Award. And then, yeah, just some pictures of me, you know, doing my thing. That's me giving my speech at in Albany. Look at how cool we look walking down the hallways in Albany. That was a little photo shoot with student government. I don't know what I was thinking about my hair over there at the Model UN. That Caesar was not doing me justice, but yeah, that's me. And then some of the scholarships I was able to get. Jason was kind enough to nominate me for the National Puerto Rican Day Parade Scholarship. Those $500 came in handy. I don't know how much they give now. At City College, I got the Colin Powell Partnership Change. So if any of you are considering City College after Hostos, there are a lot of scholarships. I am going to share links with folks who might be watching the recording later on. There's the Skadden Arps Legal Honors Studies Scholarship. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and that exposed me to the legal profession. And in those internships, I realized that actually, no, I think I like international affairs more. And I think that's part of the importance of internships, is that you get a taste of that career or that profession, and you might realize that actually, no, this is not what I want to do, but it's very beneficial to get that exposure, because a lot of people graduate with a degree that they never use. So I think it's imperative that your internships sort of give you that precursor, that prefix, that exposure. And then, yeah, some of the other scholarships I got, I listed there, and that's me accepting one of the scholarships over there. I don't know what I was thinking with my hair then, too. Yeah, my hair's gone through some phases. So that's me next to Colin Powell, looking like his body man. And yeah, on the red carpet, living my best life. Okay, so here I'm sharing some of the links. I talked about the Colin Powell Fellowship. I talked about Skadden Arps. I also talked about Gilman, if you're interested in study abroad, the Chancellor's Global Scholarship. There's one called Boren and the Critical Language Scholarship. If you're interested in a specific language that the State Department thinks is very vital and crucial, they will pay for you to go study that language. And then Jason talked a little bit about me in the Peace Corps. So this is me in Machu Picchu. I got to serve in Peru. I was a youth development facilitator. I was in sort of the north, near Trujillo, if you could see on the map. This is the city of Trujillo. I was probably an hour and a half northeast of Trujillo, and in a little rural village with a lot of farmers. Just a little side note, a lot of times people say it's about the little things, but while I was in Peru, I had my go-to barber. I think a lot of guys can relate, and the ladies, when you have someone who, like, your hairstylist that you're loyal to. But I used to talk to him a lot about my experiences in Puerto Rico, and when I got to go to Puerto Rico with the American Red Cross, helping out after Maria, which I had to get, clearance for. And that's another situation where I didn't take no for an answer. I was like, I'm helping these communities here in Peru, but my own community, in Puerto Rico suffering, I have to go there. I have to help out. So he basically ended up opening his own establishment, his own barbershop, and he named it Puerto Rico after, hearing all these stories about the resilience of the people there. And that really touched my heart, that sometimes you don't realize the impact you might have on someone in these sort of day-to-day interactions, but you might have a positive influence on someone and not even realize it, right? And some of these things might not be as tangible or apparent initially, but you might have an impact on someone's life and you won't see the fruits of that labor till later in life. But it was really great that while I was living in Peru, I was able to see a little bit of the impact I had on some individuals there. So that was a really nice experience. And this is my site. This was my host family, my host brother, host mom, aunt. This was my integration experience. In Peru, they do something called La Hora Loca during birthday parties. There's an entire hour where you like dress up and just act a fool. And then they also like put your face in the cake. Me with some of my students in elementary school. So I also got to work with an interesting group of at-risk youth. Essentially with what is the equivalent of the district attorney's office here in the States. So these are some young boys who had some run-ins with the law, and they had gotten some trouble, and basically my job was to try to help get them in a better path. And I focused on trying to get them to go to college and career planning and just planning for the future, including like financial planning and things like they might necessarily not think of at that young of an age, but I wanted to expose them to those things. And then I taught summer school. Everybody wanted me to teach English, so there was a lot of that. And that's me with some of my counterparts, local community leaders. That was a youth group that I worked with the church. And then I thought Jason was going to conduct a poll, but he's, Jason's Jason, and he didn't want to do it, basically. So, so I think I'm going to gauge on the chat. Has anyone heard of AmeriCorps, and what do you think they do? So Jason's going to read off from the chat.
I think they can raise their hand. Have you heard of AmeriCorps?
Oh, okay.
So Tiana has heard of AmeriCorps. Leighton has heard of AmeriCorps. And Michael's second question is, what do you think they do? And then you just can write in the chat. And don't feel bad if you haven't heard of them. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Leighton says it's a volunteer service organization.
Okay, great. So we have some people that have heard of it. So I currently work for AmeriCorps headquarters. I work specifically for Vista. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about that, and this might be of interest to some of you. I personally think it's a very good experience. I equate it to domestic Peace Corps. So you can serve anywhere in the U.S. territories. So Hawaii, if you want to go to Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico. So endless possibilities. We have people serving all over the U.S. and the U.S. territories. So we say that we're dedicated to people power, and that AmeriCorps brings out the best in America. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the basics. There are thousands of opportunities to serve in AmeriCorps. They have different commitments and various requirements. And today I'm going to talk about, and hopefully answer some of your questions about AmeriCorps Vista, which stands for Volunteers in Service to America. And currently we offer full-time 1-year term opportunities, as well as full-time summer opportunities, which range anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. So you as a college student, might not want to commit to an entire year because you're in school. But there are also summer opportunities. And the good thing about that is it comes with a cash stipend or an education award, which you can later use towards tuition or student loans. So I encourage you to take a look at the positions on our website. AmeriCorps will definitely change your life. Peace Corps changed my life. And you'll feel like you will have a lasting impact on a community. AmeriCorps members bring passion, perseverance, where it's needed the greatest. Because the organizations that AmeriCorps Vista work with are the organizations that fight poverty. Our goal, our objective is to alleviate and eradicate poverty. And as a person who grew up in poverty, like I could, there's a vital need for us to be at the table, because a lot of people who sometimes are at the table have no idea what it is to live in poverty, and really cannot contribute as much as us who've lived in poverty, right? Who've experienced it firsthand. So I really want to see more diversity within Vista personally. And that's why I'm trying to pitch Vista to all my communities of color. So I'm talking a little bit about the minimum requirement, which is that you're 18 years old. There is no upper age limit. And we work with, like I said, anti-poverty projects. And there's a really cool benefit. Besides the education award, if you do a Vista full service year, you get something called non-compete eligibility, which is what I got from the Peace Corps. And that's how I got my job in the federal government. I basically did not have to go the traditional route. I was able to email my resume and cover letter directly to the hiring manager, and I did not have to go through all the red tape that people normally go through to get a government job. I kind of wanted to give my little elevator pitch for Vista. And it's pre-COVID, but if you'll indulge me, this is usually what I tell people is if you want to grow outside of your comfort zone while serving your country, and if you want to go anywhere in the United States to work towards eradicating poverty, from the Florida Keys to the Alaskan snowbanks, there's no need to go abroad in order to serve because it sounds more catchy. Instead, help your community and help yourself. Serve in Vista, apply today. That's what I would tell anyone who wants to serve, their country, that necessarily national service doesn't have to be serving in the military. There's lots of ways to serve your country. Just for the folks who might join later and see this recording, this is where you would go to create a profile, myamercorps.gov. You can research and take notes of listings, positions. I know there are Vistas that have served on campuses, and I believe CUNY has had Vistas also serve on campus. So you might be able to actually be a Vista and go to school on the same campus. So I would look on the website and see if there are opportunities on CUNY campuses. Yeah, and this is just a really good resume builder. It's a really good way to get the skill set to get a job, because at the end of the day, a lot of why are we in school? Because we want to, it's going to improve our livelihood. So another question for everyone is, what is a gap year? Can you tell me what a gap year is? And please share in the chat.
So Tiana says she thinks the gap year is when you take a break.
Taking a break. Okay. Anyone have more to add?
Mine's tell them.
Tell them.
Tell them.
Okay. So a gap year is, yeah, you could define it as taking a break, but usually it's a productive break. So some people also call it a sabbatical. It means different things in different countries, but it's come to mean in more recent years, it's a year between, it could be between high school, it could be between grad school. In your situation, it could be between community college. And what a lot of people do is either travel, do something abroad, or do internships. So there are gap years that have all that built in, where you do an internship and you travel to a different country. But Vista can serve as a really good gap year. So in this time of uncertainty where we've gone virtual, and maybe you're not loving your college experience virtual, say you're graduating in the spring from Hostos, you could potentially do Vista as a gap year. And a lot of opportunities right now are virtual. So you can teleserve, as we call it. I know internet could be an issue for some individuals, and I get that, but it's a good way to get the education award, which you can use later on for tuition or to pay back student loans, as well as a resume builder. You know, Vistas usually work in administrative, like, types of service, so it's not necessarily direct service. You might, but you'll learn a lot. It could be, for example, building a database for an organization, just to give you an example. So it serves to build a resume. There is a stipend, so there's a living allowance, so you would get an income, and then you can use the education award to further your education. I mean, it has its pros and its cons, because some people feel like, oh, if I take a break, I'm going to lose momentum, you know, and if that's fine, if you don't think you can take a break, then don't. But for people who are trying to get through this transition of COVID, and they're waiting to go back to school in person, they're not really liking this online schooling experience, I'm just giving you this option. I'm putting it out there that Vista can be a really good gap year. It could equate to basically a paid internship, right? Because you're getting experience, you're getting an allowance, and you can work from your home right now, given that a lot of organizations are being flexible because they realize that, you know, due to COVID, you can't leave your house. So I just wanted to share that the gap year option. I think it could be very beneficial for some people. Not for everybody, but if you think it's something you might be interested in, I just wanted to share that with you. And lastly, I think all of you are members of the Academy, but if you're not, join the Academy. I can't stress that enough. Go to all the virtual events, and then post-COVID, go to all the, you know, in-person live events, workshops, conferences. Apply to things. Even if you don't think you're qualified, don't assume that you're not qualified. You'd be surprised. Sometimes these selection committees are looking for something different. Put yourself out there. Jason will tell you. Put yourself out there. I'm sure Jason has shared the scholarship booklet with all of you. I don't know if there's a digital format to that now, but go through that booklet. Apply to scholarships. There's lots of money out there. And then, you know, I know it could be a little cumbersome sometimes to write these personal statements, but if you write enough personal statements, you could recycle a lot of this stuff. Jason will write you a letter of recommendation. He might complain and moan and put a face, but Jason always has that face. That's his face. Don't worry. That's the only face he has. But he will write you a letter of recommendation. Travel abroad. After COVID, travel abroad. Study abroad. Expand your horizons. Get out of your comfort zone. There are tons of CUNY-wide opportunities. Even if Hostos doesn't have the study abroad experience you want, get an e-permit, go to some other CUNY campus. I'm pretty sure they're going to go to the country you want to go to. Do at least one internship, at least minimum one internship. Study a new language. Put yourself out there with public speaking. Don't be afraid to speak. You know, it's okay, the nerves, the jitters, all that, you'll get over that. It's sometimes it's good nervous energy. Jason used to bring in someone to teach parliamentary procedure. I don't know if he does that anymore, but it's a really good skill to have. When it comes to conflict resolution, I mean, basically, when I got to become the chair of the Senate, it was pretty chaotic until Jason was like, listen, you got to bring in parliamentary procedures. This is the only way we're going to get anything done. And it worked. It worked. You know, remember your heritage, remember where you came from, remember your identifiers, make sure people learn how to pronounce your name. It's not that hard. People can learn how to pronounce your name. If you have to write it out phonetically, but make sure people, you know, honor your legacy and your heritage. And just, there's a link for AmeriCorps Vista, also for Peace Corps. There's New York Cares. There's some English teaching opportunities abroad. So I wanted to share some of that. And so remember in the beginning, we talked about the ranking of how we problem solve, and someone said, you know, I try to think of positive things, right? And, you know, I think what everyone shared was great, but I think that was key in sort of honing in on what I wanted to stress today is focus on other people. Sometimes the best thing to do is get yourself off your mind, and not to say that we're going to sweep our problems under the rug, but sometimes we're too focused on our little universe. And community service and public service taught me to focus on others. Granted, you need to take care of yourself, right? Like they always say, you know, put your mask on first when you're in the airplane. So obviously I'm not saying not to take care of yourself. Self-care is very important, but sometimes we need to get ourselves off our mind. And I think that's one of the key lessons I've learned through my service is to help others. By helping others, I'm helping myself. I'm helping my community. And sometimes that might be the best way to solve a problem is, guess what? It's not that important right now. I'm going to go take care of what I actually can take care of. I'm going to be productive over here because I know that I can make this better. Like this might have to wait till tomorrow. This problem could potentially wait till tomorrow. So, like I said, always take care of yourself, always take care of your health and your mental wellness, but it can be very helpful to serve others and it'll make you feel good. So thank you for listening to me, for indulging me. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be here. I don't know if people have questions for me. I'm more than happy to answer questions that folks may have.
Okay, don't let him get without asking a lot of questions because he gave you a lot of information. He's got a lot of other stuff he can tell you too. So make sure you ask him questions.
Yeah, I have a question for you, man.
Sure.
What made you think that you wanted to get into this field? This field of trying to motivate others?
You know, I think I sort of stumbled upon it. It's more of a calling. I don't think I sought it out. I think that all my experiences sort of built up to this. And just the mentors that I've had in my life, Jason being one of them. I think that I've had people in my life, like my mom, who was a social worker, a community organizer in her own right. I think there's a legacy that was passed down to me to help my community at large. So I think part of it is the calling, part of it was passed down to me, and part of it has been life experiences and mentors like Jason.
Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing.
Happy to.
Yeah, mentors like the chancellor too, right?
The chancellor, for sure.
So no other. Oh, Tiana's got a question. She's raised her hand. Go ahead, Tiana.
So not so much a question, but more so of like a comment. I really appreciate you giving this workshop today, you know, and I was kind of skeptical about it, just even coming on today, because I was like, you know, public service, I'm like, that has to do with volunteer. We're just gonna talk about volunteering. And you spoke about so much more than just volunteering, and not just even volunteering, but what your experiences like gave you, I thought was very interesting. So I felt like, damn, midway, I was like, I shouldn't have judged this workshop without like knowing beforehand. And sometimes you get surprised, you know, that's how it happens. Like you think one thing, and then when you like actually absorb the information and you let it hit you, you're like, oh, actually it's not what I thought it was going to be at all. In fact, I received so much more information than I thought I was going to get. And also just for me, like in my experience, just with you saying like your journey with education, how, you know, it was like a 10-year long journey for you, and just like the different obstacles that you were faced with and challenges, and just how you overcame them, and how you were just very intentional. I'm sorry about the background noise. They have construction, but just about being intentional and proactive about one's like self, and like just doing good for oneself. Like, you know, what do you really want? And I consider myself to be a proactive person about my status, but just taking this workshop, I realized just how much more I can do and how I wasn't doing enough. And sometimes when I was stuck and I would wonder why, like it made sense. It was because I thought I was doing enough, but I wasn't. It was like, Tiana, you could have done so much more. And especially what you said in terms of like networking, I can be a person that sometimes I can be really like an extrovert, and then sometimes I can be really introverted, and I just kind of like psych myself out. But this was definitely helpful to me, and just realizing that I'm on a good path, but I still have so much more that I can improve on, just to be more purposeful for myself and be more intentional about wanting to be successful in a positive way, but being actionable about what that success looks like and how it should be laid out for myself, you know? So that was insightful for me. So that's why I said like this workshop was insightful, because it helped me just kind of dig in a little deeper and just see where I'm at. Because sometimes I can be a little bit all over the place, but this definitely helped me give like a focus line. So I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to, you know, share this with us on your Friday afternoon.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
I have a question. Guys. This is actually a question for Tiana. I've been seeing that a lot. I've been in a couple of different meetings. What is that? Why are you putting her and she? And like I've seen people put he and this, or what is that?
Okay, so that's some pronouns. This is basically how you prefer to be addressed. So I identify as a female, and I prefer to be addressed by the pronouns of her and she. So that's why I put that there. That's just identifying what your sex is more specifically. So especially if you're a transgender person, you could be transgender, but you identify as a woman, not as a male. So you would put your pronouns would be her, she. So you would address that individual as her, she, not as a him or a he, because that's how they choose to identify. So it's just narrowing down the sexes in terms of that, especially when it comes to transgender individuals. I hope that was able to answer your question. If that helped.
All right. I mean, what if I put her and he, her and she on my name, or if
you put her, she next to your name, it's letting people know that although you may physically look like a boy, you prefer to be addressed by female pronouns. So when someone addresses you, they're gonna be like, oh, that's him over there. They're not gonna say that's him over there. They're gonna say that's her over there sitting on the bench if they're looking for Mustafa. If that, you know, narrows it down a little bit more specifically for you.
No doubt. All right, thank you. Yeah, I just been seeing.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt, bro.
No doubt. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, when my email signature, I have my preferred pronouns. But some people identify as they. It doesn't have to be what we have as he, or there's Z. There's a lot of different ways. It's however you identify. But that's good that you asked that question. I guess going back to my presentation, if there's anyone who has any questions, I will also share my email if people have questions later on.
Let me chime in for a second. So next week, just in case you want some more information on the topic, Professor Juno Morrow has a book that's been published, Marginalia, and he'll be speaking about it on Thursday, October 29th. I think maybe some of the questions that you guys might have about what we were just talking about might be answered there. But let me come back to Michael. Don't let Michael get out of here without asking him tough stuff. Um, he, he So Michael, as he said, when he came to Hostos, he kind of was looking for one route, which was the Global Scholars Program. It didn't work out. But what he learned, I think, and what he mentioned is that he stepped into just about everything that was available and tried everything that was available. So I know he applied to Kaplan. I know he was part of the library program, which was restructured at the time that he joined it. He got involved with a lot of different programs, not only at our college, but at City College. And one of the things that I think is really essential that he spoke about, and something that you guys probably need to sort of reflect on, is networking. And some of you guys are really good at it, and some of you guys probably could do a better job at it. And that's not picking on you, that's just saying you are so talented as individuals, you're so gifted, and the fact that you put yourselves out there the way that you do for this organization, for the college, for the student government, for whatever other program that you're involved in, you have such what do you call it? You have such a bag, and it was like, is the term for it? You have a bag of stuff that people really are interested in knowing about. Now, I think Michael probably took a shortcut on this. One of the things that he was able to do through his networking is talk about the things that he learned, the things that he has experienced, the people that he's met, and share that with people. And it opened up more doors to him. Am I right?
Definitely.
I mean, so he talks about networking, and I've been with him, right? So it goes from the minute, the simple thing to the massive thing. So it's making the connection with the Hostos president, who eventually becomes the chancellor, and staying in touch with that person, and reaching out, once or twice or three times or seven times a year. And it goes back to, we did one small conference. Remember the conference in New Jersey? We did a small conference. What's the name of that conference?
USCLI.
Yeah, USHLA.
Oh, yeah.
Leadership Institute Conference, which had a Northeast conference, a small conference that we went to for 2 days in New Jersey. And Michael was just, he made contacts with every other student from every other college that was there. So the students from Pennsylvania colleges, New Jersey colleges, New York colleges, and they were all there, and he made these connections with them. And the same thing at the Model United Nations when we were in New York. But it even goes beyond that. So I was thinking about, I know Denise wrote in the chat that she's volunteered at Isabella too. And I remember one of the more moving, and we've had a lot of moving things in our group, there's some magical things, I guess, but one of the more moving things that I've ever witnessed in our group was Michael and his cousin, who was part of our program too, Mark. Were at Isabel, and they were visiting with a woman who was not elderly, but who was paraplegic, and was bedridden, and was at Isabella. And they were engaged in a conversation with her that was actually making her laugh and feel a whole lot better. And we all, after we left that room, felt like we had accomplished something that day just by that mere conversation. Michael was able to listen, which is an extraordinary skill of that people need when they're networking. And he was also able to look past whatever might have been the function of the moment, right? With being in the bed and being on a ventilator and things like that, to just have a conversation with a person as if they're a person, which is so important, right? In terms of networking, it's networking skill. It's realizing that it doesn't matter if you're the the president or CEO of a company, or you're somebody who is sitting in a soup kitchen being served by one of our members. Everybody's equal. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody is somebody that you should network with, because somewhere along the road you're going to meet somebody who was in that situation. And Michael highlighted that, I think, and I'm talking too much, but Michael highlighted that about being in poverty and sort of, I think a lot of us have had that experience of having to live in a stressful environment, struggle with different things at different levels, all of us different. But realizing that everybody who gets to wherever they get in life has come from somewhere too. Those stories are very important. So your stories, the heart of your stories, are extraordinary uh, for other people. So whether it's that you're a second language learner, or that you came from poverty, or that you had to live in a shelter, or that you have a whatever considered to have a disability, or whatever the situation is that you might align in your personal scope of yourself, realize that it's not a detriment. It's actually a talking point. It's part of your process. But that being said, it's also the things that you engage in, the things that you explore, the things that you challenge yourself to do. And part of those conversations that Michael had with all of these people about asking for money is like, this is what I've done, and this is what I'm going to do. People are much more, and I used to talk about this with scholarships all the time. People are much more willing to give money to somebody who shows the initiative, the desire to actually make an effort to do something without getting anything in return, than somebody who is just looking for a handout to do what they want to do. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think your story is very important. Your story is yours and yours alone. I think it's learning how to tell your story, which you will get better at. The more personal statements you write, the more advisors you have, the more people you have reading your stuff. It takes a bunch of revisions and a bunch of edits, but you start honing in on your story. Sometimes you don't realize things. Like I remember I was telling someone, oh yeah, I was living on my aunt's sofa for 2 years. She was like, well, you were homeless. And I didn't really think about it that way because I didn't feel like I was out on the street, but I was homeless. For all intents and purposes, I was homeless. I didn't have my own room or my own bed. Like I was sleeping on somebody's couch. But that is part of my story that I didn't, sometimes we don't realize we live these experiences because we normalize some of this stuff because that is, our day-to-day experience. But like, that is a story. That is part of my story. Like I lived on somebody's couch while I was in school for 2 years, but I did that because I wanted to go to school full time, so it's finding ways to share your story. Like I have shown we are resilient. We have grit. We have gone through stuff. It's learning how to convey that, right? But also knowing that you deserve to be somewhere. So I know that I deserve a place at the table. Like I'm not questioning that. I just know that I might have to go through a significant amount of hoops, right? I have to jump through hoops, but whether or not I deserve to be there, like that is a given. Like I'm not questioning that. So being unapologetic has helped me because I'm not asking for permission. It's kind of like, you need to open the door. I don't know how you're going to open this door, but this door is opening. Like I'm not asking you for permission. Like this is happening, right? So whether I get rejected today, I know I'm not going to get rejected tomorrow. And you have to find that energy, that source, whatever that might be, your motivating, energy that you have to channel from somewhere. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you constantly have to reboot that. And there is something called imposter syndrome. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't belong. Like, I don't feel like I belong. Like, do I really belong here? Yes, you do. You have to fight those things, right? Because we might have not been afforded the best education, because we might not be the most articulate, it doesn't mean that we do not have a voice that's crucial to the conversation. So I think constantly reminding myself that I belong at this table and no one's going to tell me otherwise has helped me in my journey. But telling your story, you're going to get better at it. It's practice like anything else. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So it's a skill that you're going to learn, like playing an instrument. Like you're going to get better at it. So just knowing that you deserve a place, I think once that's established, your story is going to keep coming out through writing, through conversations. Someone might point it out to you, like that one advisor told me, well, you know what, you were homeless and you should write about that. So yeah, that the fact that you have gone through challenges, the fact that you are resilient, that you have, that we come from the communities that we come through, that we've been through the struggle, that we're, I'm from the South Bronx and I've seen some stuff. But that doesn't mean that I have, I have a lot to contribute, right? I know that I can make the world a better place. So why not try? And yeah, I think that's crucial.
Can you also, because I know Tiana thanked you for being here, some other people have written it in the chat. You want to talk about the network of you guys, like SLA? I know that you were talking, you were speaking to Samantha recently, right?
Yeah, Samantha Jackson helped me with my personal statement. I applied to 2 fellowships, and she was a recipient of the Wrangle Fellowship. So she helped me with my personal statement for Wrangle. And then, you know, you talk about the chancellor, but the chancellor was the president of Hostos, and I built a relationship with him. I maintained that relationship till now. Then he became president of Queens College. I kept in touch with him, and now he's the chancellor of all of CUNY. And he wrote my letter of recommendation for Wrangle and Pickering, which are 2 fellowships that have a pipeline to the Foreign Service. They pay for your grad school, you know, and they give you a stipend. So that's why I do stress that relationships are important to maintain communication with those professors, with those advisors, because, you know, I graduated in 2012. I could have lost contact with Jason by now, but I make a point to keep in touch with Jason, right? And like, these are people that had an impact on my life, but I don't lose touch, because when I ask for that letter of recommendation, Jason's not going to forget who Michael Cruz is, because Michael Cruz keeps in touch. So whether it's once a year, once every 6 months, send a Happy New Year, send a, you know, Feliz Navidad, whatever you believe in. And I think it's important. Those relationships are crucial. Not only networking, it's maintaining those networks, right? Because there is a CUNY network, there's a Hostos network. Like, tap into all these networks. I'm a return Peace Corps volunteer. There's a huge network. I tap into that. There's a network with AmeriCorps. Like, wherever you go, there is a network. Tap into it.
So the other thing I want to have you point out is that you've served as giving advice to members over the years who you've met through doing workshops and coming back, and shared your experiences with them so that they took on roles. But what he left out about Samantha, and you guys may already know this because I probably talk about her a lot, but Samantha is our United States diplomat. So Samantha was a student at Hostos when I first got there, graduated in 2008, went on to Columbia through the Global Scholars Program, to Brown University, all for free, by the way, and then moved on to the higher level, getting involved in the Obama campaign, and eventually getting her diplomatic service. And she was serving overseas. She's just come back and she's about to go back out overseas. But we've had a situation where if we need somebody, if we have people who want to go into the Foreign Service, or if we have people who want to go in the Peace Corps, you have a cohort, a group of people who you can reach out to and have those conversations with, because they've been there and they've done it, and they can tell you this is the steps that you need to take. This is the advice I can give you about how to go about getting this award, or how to make it happen. And so Michael's been part of that process. And I like that. I mean, I like the fact that we're able to share the experiences. Even one of Michael's classmates, Alvin Mendez, who's now an anesthesiologist, a doctor, you know, there have been other people who wanted to be doctors over the years who Alvin was willing to take a text message from, talk to, and give them ideas. Even before Alvin was a doctor, actually, because he'd gone to Stony Brook and he became a dorm advisor. And there were other students who were going to Stony Brook after him, and he was willing to give them advice on what to do when they got to Stony Brook. And that's the great gift that you have, whether you know you have it or not, is that you can check in, you can let me know that you want to pursue something. And I generally have somebody who's gone in that direction. Whether they've gone completely in that direction or not, that's sometimes hard to say. I mean, obviously we have a lot of nurses.
Don't forget all the Kaplan scholars we've had. So that's another network of people who've gone to really prestigious schools. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were having this conversation about, I know Abdul is on the phone now, he's on the line, about the NSARS thing that's going on overseas. And Enoch Sowa, who is a graduate of our program, who's a classmate of Michael's, and served in the Model UN years ago with him, Works for the city now, but he's passionate about addressing what's going on the continent of Africa, especially in Nigeria, with the current situation. And we're trying to actually have Enoch come back and lead a group conversation. I mean, he's super brilliant. He from Hostos, he went to Occidental College because Barack Obama went there. And he actually got a job at the United Nations through an internship that he did at the United Nations from Occidental. So he went from New York to California. I think Occidental is in California still. And then he got the internship to come back to New York and work at the UN on an internship. And then he got a full job at the UN for a while. And now he works for the Office of the Mayor on some things that are really important. So all these,
don't forget Caduce and Jabril went to talk.
Yeah, and everybody has these conversations. So whatever your dream is, whatever your desire is, your goal is, it's not too far-fetched. It's actually within reach, and there might actually be somebody who can give you some pointers. I always like that. I mean, if there was somebody who could give me a pointer on how to get my plays produced on Broadway right now, that'd be great. Of course, there's no Broadway anymore because of COVID. I think, you know, to realize that I look at your faces, whether I'm seeing the virtual faces or the real faces, and I realize that you guys have dreams and goals and desires that are varied, but what you don't realize maybe right now is because, you know, maybe we haven't had that conversation yet, is that there are people out there who had similar dreams too, who started to pursue them or pursued them to the full capacity of their ability and have accomplished those things or are in the works of accomplishing those things. And some of those things are as crazy, you know, as far, let's say not crazy, as far-fetched as like wanting to be the president of your own country. And we've had a few people who have gone back and are still here and working on political agendas that would put them in line for that. I mean, we have a whole group of guys from Burkina Faso who are part of a committee here in the United States that would lead them back to being politically involved in their own country. At some point. And we've obviously had people, you know, who want to go back to the Dominican Republic and play a role in fixing some of the political systems there. And the variety of things. So whatever your wildest dream is, whatever your desire is, there are people out there who took part in it. Yeah, talking too much, Michael.
No, but Jason's really good at linking, you know, you with someone who might have some experience in some of the areas that you're interested in pursuing. Because a lot of people have come through the academy over the years, and Jason, look at him, he's a dinosaur. He's been around for a minute. Like, he's been around for 10 years. He's had a lot of people come through, you know, his door, and he will have definitely, if he knows someone, he will give you their number, their email, like, so always use, you know, Jason as a resource to point you in the right direction, but also just ask questions, you know, do your research. Google is other than that, but like people, like I said, tap into your networks. At Hostos, there's plenty of people that you could talk to that could point you in the right direction as well, so.
Yeah, even before I knew students who were doing the type of stuff, I was willing to ask those questions and and that Michael's the expert, right? I learned more from Michael about it than I probably learned on my own. You know, early on, people were like, I can't afford to go to school. And I was like, well, where are you from and what's your background? Let's reach out to somebody from that place and see if they can actually help you. And I did realize that some of those things can actually happen. But I asked the question, and then when Michael came around, I think he was super frustrated with the global scholars thing. I mean, his brother is like a global scholar, graduated from Columbia, the whole thing. So that he was like, I'm just gonna ask everybody for everything, and I'm not gonna hold back. And he was. I mean, every time there was a situation they wanted to do something, he just asked the question, and then the bottom line was, somebody was going to answer yes down the road, even if it wasn't the first 3 people or the first person. Generally, it was the first person that would answer and say, yeah, well, let's make it happen. but even if it wasn't, he was going to continue to ask the question. And when he talks about writing recommendation letters for him, he's like, I don't think I've written more recommendation letters from any single person in my entire time. And I write a lot of recommendation letters. Rosanna's on here. She's looking. She's waiting because I owe her a recommendation. But I think I probably have like 25 or 30 letters of recommendation from Michael. And one time he was applying to some program, some fellowship, something, and he sent me back the recommendation. He's like, no, you got to do it this way. So, yeah,
I'm dead. I'm so sorry, but I'm dead. That just made me roll like no tomorrow. That is just too funny.
Yeah, well, he knows, he puts his mind to something and he goes out and gets it. And he's doing the same thing, right? So he's not happy, he's not settled in the place that he is right now. It continues to work. And to Michael's credit, he also go back to the networking. So last year, before someone came on the phone call, last year we were in Virginia for the conference, the Model United Nations in DC, and he came over because he's living near there to visit with the students and talk to them about their experiences. And that's a network, right? You don't have to do that. That's a Saturday night. He could have been doing anything else except, coming to a hotel and sitting in the lobby with some of our students and talking to them. But that's the type of person he is, and he was willing to do that.
And to your credit, though, we're pushing the whole networking theme. Some of those students keep in touch with me still. Like I get emails, I get calls, hey, what do you think about this? So, do you think this is a good idea? So like some people really do take this to heart. Like that's part of the reason why I do it is because I've always been grateful for the people that came before me that did that for me. So I'm more than happy to give people some advice or, send them an email or try to point them in the right direction. But, to what you were talking about, I remember when I got to City College, I didn't get as much financial aid. And you told me who to talk to. And I went and I knocked on her door and she, Wendy, she told me, well, guess what? There's an emergency scholarship that's only for food and transportation. And you're going to have to keep receipts, which is not a problem. I will keep receipts for whatever. And I ended up getting like $1,500 in which covered my Metro card and my meals. So like there's stuff out there. And if I wouldn't have gone to Wendy, because this is not something I was going to find on the website, right? This was like the City College Foundation, which City College has, a huge alumni network that donates to City College, and there's an entire foundation, and there's money for students who don't have housing or don't have, food or don't have transportation. So like, if I would have just taken, they're not going to give me the same amount of Pell, and if I would have just taken that for an answer, then I wouldn't have gotten this emergency scholarship. So that's one example.
That's inspiring, man. If I could ask Jason a question real quick. Jason, are you writing recommendations for this leadership, Kaplan leadership program?
Yes, in fact, with just as a side note for you guys, if I feel like I can nominate you, I've been asked to nominate some people for the Kaplan, which is why I wrote to you guys about that.
Are you doing the professional or academic?
Academic generally, I think.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you need, I don't think you have to worry about that. I think if you have an academic reference and you need a professional reference, that I can do it based on the volunteer work and things like that.
Got you. Thank you, Jason. You're the man.
Thank you.
Also, مرحب يا عرب. أنتم منورين الدنيا كلها. And thirdly, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Cruz. Very, very insightful. Thank you for coming to talk to us, man. Appreciate you, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we were just as a side note, he mentioned Kudus before. Kudus was the first ever valedictorian of Kaplan. and then went on to Stanford and got his bachelor's and his master's in Stanford. I
In
mean,
engineering, right?
yeah, much beloved by us, much beloved by Kaplan, I believe. We share that love for Kudus, who is also Nigerian. And his brother Jabril, Michael is very close to. And you know, we are with our brothers and sisters from Nigeria in support of them in the face of all of the opposition in the world.
Mm.
Right,
And while I have you all, sorry to interrupt, Jason, but I have you all here. Like, if you don't get something the first time, also don't be afraid to apply a second time, because a lot of times, you know, a lot of these selection programs see that, like the panels, they see this, and I didn't get scanned in the first time, but I applied again. So there's also that. Like, don't be afraid to apply to things more than once if you don't get it the first time.
yeah, all of this is great advice. You have to really like take it, and you have to do it because Michael constantly did it. And the other thing is, over the years, Michael and I have met with other students. So I remember when Cruz was interviewing for the job at the White House, this was when Barack Obama was president, Michael met up with us in DC to cheer her on. It's always great to support the folks who, you know, come from the same place, come from the same program, come from Hostos, right? As they go on their journey. And I think that's what a lot of the people who have been members of the SLA in the past will do for folks who come down the road, just to cheer you on. Because we all kind of know that it's to our benefit, right? The more successful each and every one of you is, the more valuable our gem is, right? Hostos is the gem of the South Bronx. We every time you guys go on a successful mission and become whatever it is that you choose to become, you become something that shines the gem a little bit more for us. And there's a lot more people in the world who suddenly know what Hostos Community College is, where it is. I always feel privileged with that when we go to conferences and people are like, what's Hostos? And then all of a sudden when we leave, they know what we are and who we are and where we come from. We're not.
Yeah, we've even had Hostos graduates go to Harvard, you know. So from Hostos to Harvard, that is quite an impressive journey.
Yeah, we had Saint at the first workshop of the semester.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, wherever it is, but it doesn't matter where you want to go. It's how you take that and turn it into whatever you want to do. I mean, Mike's a good example of that, right? So City College is a fine institution, right? Prisney was like that, right? She went to City College too and turned that into a lot of different things. And other people have gone to John Jay in Brooklyn and other places in the city. And they're just as valuable. It's the value for you. You know, what is it that you take out of those places as opposed to, you know, that something merits more. Yeah, definitely Harvard and Columbia and Yale. It's like, you know, the Ivy League, the whole thing getting all crazy. We have a couple students at Cornell now this year. All of that's great, but at the end of the day, it's about how you take what you've accomplished and use it to your benefit, wherever it is that you go.
Yeah, and I could even add to that. When I was studying abroad in Brazil, I had a professor that was teaching the same students that were going to Dartmouth. And I was like, well, I'm getting the same quality of education. And I had teachers and professors at CCNY who taught at Yale, Stanford, Columbia, you know, so it's not, you know, CUNY is definitely nothing to sneeze at. I think that the rigor of our education, the quality of our education is good, really good. I think that we get more bang for our buck. You know, a lot of these students end up with a lot of debt that we're not going to have, and yet we probably end up at the same, you know, organizations and corporations. So like, don't sell yourself short. Just because we don't have an Ivy League education doesn't mean that we can't really go up the ranks.
So they're asking if you have social media.
I don't have which one.
He's on Facebook. He's on
I'll give you my link to Facebook.
he's on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, I should give you guys my LinkedIn.
Are you on Twitter?
Instagram?
He's on Instagram. I tagged him on Instagram for the workshop. And you know that was a big deal because I don't go on Instagram like that. Yeah, so he's out there and he's available. He's accessible. I bother him all the time.
Yeah, let me get my LinkedIn because that's a good one.
So like I always say, use him as a resource.
Mhm.
So while he's typing, I want to mention a couple of things for those of you that need to know or need to share. The forums that we've been doing, which is everything that's connected to the college, you can now, using a link on the page that has all of the events, register your participation. At the end of the semester, I will a link page so that you can also check off the workshops that you've done, because I think that some people, because of the demands of what's going on with COVID and taking care of children, doing other things, are not able to do these live from 3:30 to 5:30 every Friday afternoon. So they'll be able to watch the videos, which is why we're recording them. And so I will have a page that people will be able to identify that they've participated. But at the same time, I think it's important that we continue to meet on our Friday afternoons, because it sets a precedent that we're going to continue to do what we do in light of whatever happens in the world. We're going to continue to meet here and have these conversations. So that's why we're doing them. We're also I'm going to boot up the movie series. I'm going to buy a lot of movies with the help of the library, pay a lot more money than they normally would. And they're going to be accessible for you guys to watch at your leisure, and then you can mark off that you participated in that. And then I'm still fighting, still arguing about whether or not we can do volunteer work. It's a bit of a challenge right now, but we may actually have a couple volunteer projects coming up. Definitely one on campus for Thanksgiving. That's going to be managed by the institution, so that we'll be able to do it and follow whatever the rules are. And then maybe some outdoors before it gets too cold. But it's a challenge. I'm still working on it. I'm trying to figure out how to do all of these things, including the virtual volunteering. So we're still on our mission. We're still moving forward. So I do appreciate you guys being here. Are there any other additional questions for Mike?
I shared my LinkedIn in the chat.
Okay, it's Friday. It's kind of warm outside still, I think. I don't know if you guys can go anywhere. I'm not allowed to go anywhere. I gotta watch 2 kids take care of all this stuff. But I want to thank you, Michael. You know, I love you. I care about you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud of your accomplishment. It was so exciting for me 2 years ago when you were the recipient of that Alma Mater's award. As much as last night I was crying when Fevi got hers. When you guys are recognized by the college, it really means a lot to me, because I already know how special you are. They need to realize how special each and every one of you guys are, and Michael's a special guy. And we go back a long time. You're welcome. So thank you for always willing to do this. Continued success on your journey. Keep us informed of all of the highlights, the spectacular things that you do. I mean, I don't want to know about the cliff diving or anything like that, but you know, all of the diplomatic steps that you take and all, you know, all of the accomplishments that you have. So keep us informed of that. And thank you guys for being here on your Friday afternoon. Again, I miss being in the room with you. miss being able to have the conversations face to face. That's always been special. Mike's always been good about coming back and being at the college too. He likes to, shake hands and see people. And he likes to sort of talk to people. And so do I. I like to be in the same room with you guys. So I miss it. One day, hopefully soon, we'll get back to it. And people are writing in the chat to me. And you guys can definitely text message me. If you don't have my cell phone number already, you should all have it. I'll put it here now. Of course, this will end up being everywhere, which is fine. You guys can always reach out to me and let me know what's going on. If you need anything, letters of recommendation, you're applying to something, you're looking for work study, or trying to do something. I'm accessible. I don't need to have a college phone to be accessible. I have one, but if you guys want to reach out to me, Ken, and you definitely should reach out to Michael and see. I wrote it privately. Somebody wrote me privately. Hold on. 3475. Now I can say it out loud because then it will be everywhere. So it's good to see you. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I hope it's a good one. And again, I hope to be able to give you some good information coming shortly. Definitely next week, we're going to have an announcement about the Thanksgiving thing, and then we'll see what else we can do. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike. Abdul, it's good to see you. All right, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Good to see you too, boss.
Bye. Have a good night.
All right, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Denise. Good night. Good night.
Good night, everyone, and enjoy your weekend. Be safe.
Mohammed, take care.
Same to you.
Naomi, good to see you. Leighton, good to see you. Mustafa, good to see you. Mexican, good to see you.
All right, guys. Everybody take care, man.
Mustafa,
See you soon.
good to see you. Yanira, I guess we'll talk in 3 minutes. Nina, good to see you. Franco, good to see you. Rosanna, I'm working on a recommendation letter. It took me a little longer. I think I've said goodbye to everybody. All right.
Don't take no for an answer. Get that letter. Get that letter.